that Golisopod Garbodor was one of the biggest decks in Standard, and then I think since Zoroark has been printed, a lot of people have kind of decided to go more that route. But Azul is saying no. You guys are playing Zoroark. You're relying on those trade abilities. I'm just gonna Garbotoxin you out of the game.
Yeah, he's also using those 4 enhanced hammers in his deck to combat the field of many special energies.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at this. You look at this top 8 and you just see so many double colorless energies, strong energies. Looks like we actually have a player profile for Ahmed Ali. Let's go ahead and look at his specific accomplishments if we can.
All right, there you go. He is playing that Lycanroc Zoroark deck. And look at those 3 regional top 8s in 2017.
Yeah, just...
that means there's 5 who top 8'd.
Yeah, just very, very consistent. Even has a U.S. Nationals top 32 in 2016. And so with all those top 8s, so this is something that can happen, just like we were talking about earlier, is that when you get those top 8s, you want more. You know, it starts to become, you start to get normalized to the idea of top 8ing.
You start getting into your head.
You want to get a trophy. And as you can see, he is playing the Zoroark Lycanroc deck, the most popular Zoroark variant here. That we've seen on camera a lot, and it looks like we're going to continue to see throughout the top 8.
All right, and then for Azul, we can bring up his player profile. It's definitely going to have quite a few accomplishments on it.
Yeah, again, Azul, one of the best players in the game right now. Taking a look at 2 regional champions, just 4 regionals wins. 2010, took a little bit of a break, decided I just don't want to win a regionals for the next 5 years, and then won 3 over the course of 2 years.
It's not bad, not bad. All right, and there you see he is playing that Golisopod GX paired with the Garbodor Garbotoxin. And remember, if you see from the past few streams and stuff, the Garbodor that was really featured was Trash Lanch, but there's nowhere to be found in this deck.
Yeah, Azul is just kind of favoring that Garbotoxin. Garbodor just kind of saying, you know, the whole field is just relying on abilities rather. You're just going, okay, well, I'm going to shut off your trade. I'm going to shut off your Wonder Tag. If there were Gardevoir players in this tournament, we'd be shutting off your Secret Spring. Just Garbodor is a very, very powerful control card. And as we were talking about earlier, Azul is also playing 4 copies of Enhanced Hammer.
Yeah, exactly, and especially in this matchup where his opponent is playing 4 double colorless and a bunch of strong energy with really only 1 or 2 fighting energy, like basic fighting energy.
It's actually one of my favorite things about this tournament and Azul's deck really is that Enhanced Hammer is not an uncommon card. It's not in every deck, but you'll see a copy or 2 in a lot of decks. People will kind of recognize, yeah, there's going to be a lot of special energy around. Maybe I have a bad matchup versus a deck that plays a lot of special energy. I'm going to throw a few copies of this card in. But Azul has just gone with the full play set. He's just saying, I recognize how important special energy is going to be. If I'm wrong, if the metagame's totally different than I think, then it's going to be pretty rough for me. But I don't think that's the case. And as it turns out, he was absolutely correct.
Yeah, I remember early on in the day yesterday, Kyle Sablehouse was like, all right, this deck is probably going to be the one that takes the tournament. And he kind of was sweating a little with Azul being the only Golisopod Garb in day 2. But it's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, I mean, he knew what he was doing for sure. I would never doubt Azul. Looks like players are getting set up here. All right. Azul debating. I think he has a something and a Tapu Koko. I can't see what the other thing is, but looks like he's just debating which to start as you're going to see Ahmed's prizes.
We do see a Bridget, but remember, this deck plays up to 3 thanks to trade being able to discard him later on in the game. Prizes didn't really seem that bad for Ahmed.
Go ahead and take a look at...
There we see the Mewtwo, kind of a really moot point. Doesn't really need it. There's a opponent Buzzwall, but it's not really...
Yeah, it shouldn't be as big of a deal. All right, looks like these players are off. I think the bigger deal in Azul's prizes is going to be those 2 Enhanced Hammer, but players are ready, and let's begin the first round of the top 8 here in Memphis.
All right, Azul will start us off opening with that Tapu Koko, like you said, benching a Trubbish. We'll see if he'll be able to have access to a turn 1 Bridget, the usual play for most decks in this format.
Doesn't look like he does. I don't think.
Yeah, I think just a Sycamore, attaching a couple tools to his field and a grass energy to the Tapu Koko.
We usually don't see a grass energy attached to the Tapu Koko. Usually just want to throw a double colorless on that guy, but as I was just saying, I don't want to discard this. I'll just attach it and see what happens.
Exactly, and thankfully for him, he does get 2 Wim Pods, so he really didn't need a Bridget. The Sycamore found him everything he needs.
Yep, and we're going to see an N from Ahmed after just attaching a DCE to the Tapu Lele.
Yeah, unfortunately, his hand was a couple puzzle at a time, and that's something you really want to see, but turn 1 when you have no discard?
Yeah, this is, we see this a lot. So the optimal turn 1 play is to, in most decks in this format, is to bridge it. And we often see this kind of shaky end where you end and then you're like, okay, well, I need to draw basics, I need to draw stuff. Let's hope that I can start getting my board set up here. So 6 new cards for each player. Let's see what Ahmed can put together here.
Definitely looking for some Zoras. And he has 1 at least, but
60.
It's looking like
Energy
it's it.
drive.
Energy drive on the Tapu Koko, 60 damage.
It's 5.
Yeah, no, just 1 copy of Zoroark, no Rockruff. Not a great setup on the first turn from Ahmed.
All right, and thanks to the heavy ball from Azul's deck, he will be able to grab a Golisopod GX thanks to its 3 retreat cost.
Yeah,
and I think there's also a Garbodor in his hand as well.
Oh yeah, so having the Golisopod out, putting the Garbotoxin online, that's going to be a great turn for Azul. Let's see if he has a Grass Energy as well to first impression and really start to press his advantage here.
Even maybe a Guzma along with that Grass Energy to take out the Zora on the bench.
Yeah, that would be an amazing play. Second Golisopod set up.
All right, he does have an N, or a Sycamore.
Yeah, debating which one to play. Just going to go ahead and fire off the Sycamore.
And there is a Grass Energy. He will be able to first impression this turn.
Start to put some pressure on that Tapu Lele. Looks like Azul has an Enhanced Hammer in hand, considering playing that. Also, just decides to play the Enhanced Hammer, get rid of that special energy.
All right,
and
there we see a retreat and a first impression from Azul. 120 damage coming down on the Tapu Lele GX. And now it's on Ahmed to try to get things going. He really didn't have a good first turn.
Yeah, passing your turn in a deck that you're trying to get multiple evolutions at with only 1 Zoroark on the bench is not where you want to be. That Field Blower is nice. It allows him to use his abilities this turn. He can trade Wonder Tag, although he's already played a supporter, so that's
all right.
nice.
Sycamore.
To shut off that Garbodor. And what is he?
He does find a few energies and an Ultra Ball, so he can choose to get another Pokemon if he wants, but he still needs a lot more basics.
Sorry,
yeah, the difficult part here is that he has an Ultra Ball, but he...
You kind of don't want to discard stuff from there.
60?
Yeah, that, and he can, if he was going to play it, he could only get 1 thing. He could get the Zoroark or another basic, and it's just, neither of those are really ideal.
All right, now back to Azul. Ultra Ball, most likely getting a Tapu Lele? Depends what he has in his hand.
Yeah, can't quite make it out, but Azul...
And thanks to the Field Blower from Ahmed last turn, he can actually Wonder Tag for anything he needs.
Yeah, Tapu Lele is turned on. Looks like it's going to go ahead and get an N.
Yep.
Nope, not playing it yet.
Yeah, easily reversible there. It should know how many cards were in his hand.
There's the double colors coming down
There
on
we
the
go.
Golisopod, and then the N. So he will be taking a knockout. Just depends what he takes a knockout with, either the Crossing Cut GX or the Armor Press.
Yeah, and that will leave Ahmed with 2 more prizes than Azul and only the Zoroark in play. So it's going to be on him. I mean, I think Azul is really looking for a tool here to turn Garbotoxin back on and kind of cut off a few more of Ahmed's potential plays. Let's see what he can put together here.
I see quite a few supporters, and there is a Floatstone in his hand. Garbotoxin is now back online, and Azul is sitting pretty with his Golisopod army.
And there is a knockout. Zoroark gets promoted. I did see an N in Ahmed's hand. He's got some plays this turn. Enhanced Hammer.
Double colorless, debating about it on the Zoroark. He does have a second one, so he might be able to cobble a few things together. Double colorless is getting removed thanks to Enhanced Hammer, and then another N. And granted, we've seen how N isn't really that good this format at disrupting your opponent because of Zoroark, but when you play against a deck like Azul's, it's probably the best thing you could do.
Yeah, this is one of the downsides of the path that Azul has chosen to take, is that he doesn't actually have any copies of Zoroark GX in his deck, and he also doesn't have Octillery or anything like that. As you can see, Garbotoxin is even on, so he couldn't even bench a Tapu Lele if a bench spot opens up. So he is kind of at the mercy of N more than any other deck right now.
And there we go. 6 cards to Azul's 4. What does he have? Did he miss the Zoroark? Oh no.
Oh, well, yeah, he's actually going to go ahead and scoop him up as Azul takes a quick Game 1 victory over Ahmed Ali here. Ahmed just realizing he's too far behind,
First, please. Okay.
wanting to save a little bit of time so they can play out the full match.
I think Azul has the answer to beat Zoroark, and that is have your opponent not get any out.
Yeah, if your opponent doesn't draw them, then you can easily beat it.
Yeah. So Azul is up 1-0, and it is now on Ahmed to try to take these 2 games.
Off the table?
Yeah, Ahmed is kind of on the back foot here. You need to take 2 games to stay in this tournament. Of course, as we are in the top 8, these are single elimination. So these players have battled through 15 Swiss rounds, but a game loss here for Ahmed means elimination from the tournament. So the pressure is on. It's always a weird feeling when you're playing in the top 8 and you're down a game and you're like, I have to win 2. Sometimes it can just seem insurmountable. You have like a negative energy around it. I know that's, especially when you're playing a bad matchup or just a player that you think is better than you or anything like that. It can just be really hard to go, all right, I got to win 2 before they win 1.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what you have to try to do. You have to block all that out and just focus on the game at hand. You can see Ahmed shaking his head there. He really needs a better start.
Yeah, that was just kind of a non-game there. There was nothing. Azul had a good start, but Ahmed just had kind of nothing going on the entire game, which is unfortunate. It's unfortunate to lose like that when you feel like you kind of didn't even really get to do what your deck wants to do.
Yeah, really, it's not even really playing Pokemon at that point.
Right. Azul is going to take a mulligan here that will grant Ahmed an extra card. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Looking at his prizes, a puzzle of time that might be big if the game goes long.
Yeah, nothing too exciting there. 1 Zorua and that stand-in Zoroark, but nothing too huge. One thing I think has been pretty interesting has been to see the promo Rockruff versus the set one. On paper, I think the corner is a really powerful attack, not letting your opponents retreat, but the promo ones can actually take some knockouts on important Pokemon like Zoroark.
Yeah, also as we've seen before, you know, it takes knockouts against like Circuitry.
Oh yeah,
Koopas
if you're
like
Michael
that.
Pramawai, you can do a lot of work with it. All right, these players are off. Mewtwo start.
That's not what you want to see from Ahmed, but he does have access to Ultra Ball, which means that also gets Tapu Lele for Wonder Tag and a Bridget.
Yeah, you see he immediately pulls a Tapu Lele to the front of his deck. Gonna get a Bridget. And he's actually, this is the setup he wanted on, he wants every game really, but especially wanted on the first turn last game that he didn't quite get. So he needs to actually
get the Tapu Lele.
Get the Tapu Lele, yeah. I'm sure that
there we
we'll
go.
understand what's going on, yeah. All right, so 3 Pokemon are going to hit the bench for Ahmed.
It'll be interesting to see if he goes the full 3 Zorua or if he opts to get a Rockruff, kind of valuing that Bloodthirsty Eyes a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's just dependent.
Oh no, there's the
Buzzwole.
one of Buzzwole GX.
Kind of getting I think two Zoroarks are kind of almost always your play. You see that he has a Rockruff in his hand.
Puzzle of time.
Just because you need you want as many of those as possible, and they are your primary attacker. Playing a single Puzzle of Time is usually not a good sign there. I didn't see what he rearranged, but I have to imagine his hand isn't very good.
Yeah, sometimes you see these players kind of go all in on Bridget, but then kind of realize, well, oh, I don't have a supporter for next turn. Puzzle will kind of mitigate that a little bit, so we'll see if Ahmed's top of the deck will help him out.
We're on Azul's turn now.
And meanwhile, Azul's going to try to match him with an Ultra Ball of his own.
Taking a minute to look through his deck, I imagine that he will also find a Tapu Lele Wonder Tag for a Bridget, but it does depend on the makeup of his hand.
And there he goes, looking at the Sycamore instead.
Wonder tag.
Yeah, this is something that can happen when you kind of maybe playing the Bridget would leave Azul without any other supporters in his hand, so his next few turns will be kind of rough. Or maybe he even just has a Trubbish in his hand, so he's not as concerned. I suspect we'll see momentarily.
Double Colorless on the Tapu Lele GX, and a Sycamore discarding a Golisopod and a Garbodor. And here we go, 7 new cards. He has the Trubbish and a Tapu Koko as well. And thanks to it being Azul's first turn, Wimpot's Wimpout will be able to retreat for free to the Tapu Lele if he chooses to.
He's actually just going to promote the Koko so that he can free retreat next turn.
Yeah, the Mewtwo isn't really a threat.
And back to Ahmed.
All right, Choice Band on the Zora on the bench, evolving Zoroark and Sycamore.
All right, I think that's Ahmed's first Zoroark GX of the match here. So he's happy to see that, going to add some consistency over the next few turns.
And there we see an enhanced hammer on top of Ahmed's hand. Definitely going to be able to take out that double colorless on the Tapu Lele.
Trade.
Kind of making Azul regret attaching it.
Trading away a Zoroark GX for 2 new cards, for evolving into a second copy.
Trade.
Another trade here.
And this is what Zoroark does. Trade away all these cards, get some brand new ones.
Trade away what you don't need. And so you're going to see a completely different game here from Ahmed. Game 1 was not representative of how his deck usually works. And now that he has 2 Zoroarks online, he's going to be able to draw through his deck so quickly. And if you haven't seen this deck in action yet, you're going to start to see a little bit of the power of Zoroark.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, he did not have a way to get the Mewtwo out of the active spot, so he wasn't able to take a knockout on the Tapu Koko.
And now it looks like with that heavy ball, Azul is going to be putting Garbotoxin online. And I think this is going to be a big part of the tension in this matchup is, can Ahmed consistently shut off Garbotoxin by playing Field Blower to get rid of the tool attached to the Garbodor?
Man, what a hand from Azul. Evolving into Golisopod, attaching an energy, evolving into Garbodor, and attaching the Floatstone, and then a Sycamore on top of it all. And then another heavy ball for another Golisopod.
Yeah, Azul just kind of getting everything he needs here. Like we said, that Garbodor is a huge game. 2 Golisopods is going to be able to first impression this turn even because the Tapu Koko has free retreat.
And there we go. Azul is essentially all set up. And I realized that Ahmed didn't use the enhanced hammer last turn. Kind of valuing it a little bit more because he doesn't play the full 4.
Yeah, it's always good to remove your opponent's energy, of course, but the DCE that's kind of stuck on a Tapu Lele isn't too important. So Azul is going to go ahead and energy drive here. You know, he can't take a knockout with first impression, so he would rather just not have to worry about his Golisopod taking damage. And there is the Field Blower, so now Ahmed will have access to all of those trades this turn.
And finally, a way to get Mewtwo out of the active spot.
Acerola should be back in his hand. Yeah, okay.
He'll just trade it away. It's fine.
It's going to go there eventually.
And there we see a Lycanroc, Bloodthirsty Eyes on the Golisopod.
All right, here we go. This is the power of these abilities. Look, I mean,
First trade getting rid of Giratina, a card that is not going to be useful at all in this whole top 8.
Yep, these abilities are pretty powerful here. We just saw this whole entire turn was because of trade and Bloodthirsty Eyes.
Yeah,
and then opts to bench the Mewtwo again, using it as extra damage for his attack, and the Ritus beating, dealing 150 damage to the Golisopod GX.
And so no Ace Rolla here, a common play out of the Golisopod decks to kind of force your opponents to deal more damage to you and to bring up that other Golisopod to first impression with, but Azul is just actually forced to end here.
This could really hurt him, because right now, if he doesn't do anything else, first impression does 30 damage.
Yeah, he definitely has to have something else going on here, but I think his first priority is reestablishing the ability lock with Garbotoxin.
Yeah, exactly, and with these 6 cards, that's exactly what he's hoping to do. Looking at his draw, I do not see a tool, but I do see an enhanced, or no, it was an Ultra Ball.
Yeah, I didn't actually see a way to do anything this turn, I don't think, which is going to be huge. I think that Azul can let Ahmed get ahead as long as he can establish Garbotoxin, but if Ahmed's winning on board and there's no Garbotoxin online, I think he can just run away with this.
Yeah, exactly. First impression for just 30 damage, and now Ahmed is rolling the dice again. First trade, discarding a Bridget. And he really is looking all set up. All he needs now is just a little bit more energies to get his guys powered up.
Yeah, Ahmed also very aware that Garbotoxin is probably going to be online for the majority of the game. So he's just, even if he's not really looking for anything, he just wants to trade to get rid of the worst cards in his deck and just prepare for when he's not going to be able to trade again.
Yeah, when you get end to like 4, when those 4 cards are still really good because you got rid of all the bad cards in your deck, doesn't matter.
Yeah, you don't really want to see, Bridgets and things like that when you get end late in the game.
All right, here's an Ultra Ball from Azul. He's eyeing up another Wimpod, trying to get more Golisopods online.
Yeah, I think his play is kind of forced there. He needs to attack with Golisopods. He needs to put something together here. And the end, again, putting Ahmed down to 4 cards. Can Azul reestablish the Garbotoxin lock? That is the question.
Yeah, that's very important. 4 cards down, but if no Garbotoxin, trade is just going to replenish that hand size.
Let's see what these players can do. Azul looking for a Float Stone, perhaps another energy here, and Ahmed just looking for a way to deal with the Garbotoxin, basically.
All right, 6 cards for Azul. There is a choice band, so he has a tool, but it's not the optimal one.
Yeah, he would much prefer to have a Float Stone, just because he won't have to waste that choice band. The choice band can actually do extra damage versus most of the cards in Ahmed's deck. And of course, if the Garbodor gets stuck active, having the Float Stone is nice. But so I think he will settle for attaching the choice band.
This is pretty good here for Azul. He has that Enhanced Hammer, gets rid of the double colorless off the active Zoroark GX. And if he chooses to attach the choice band to the Garbodor, which he does, Garbotoxin is now online. So he has no access to trade as of right now, and he also does not have a double colorless in his hand.
Looks like an escape rope off the top for Ahmed. Not a card you see in every deck, but Azul's more or less fine with that. He has a free retreater, and it's going to turn on first impression next turn.
And then we see an N from Ahmed, and he's really looking for a Field Blower right now.
Yeah, he just wants to, again, the tension in this matchup is just having to deal with Garbodor, as it is in basically every matchup that your opponent's playing Garbodor. It's just such a difficult to beat card when you're so reliant on abilities.
And again, with all these ends, Azul's still drawing 6 cards. He might be a little ahead with the Garbotoxin, but thanks to him not being taking a prize right now, he's still getting all
60,
these brand new
30?
cards.
Yeah, I mean, ends feel the best when you're ahead on board, but still behind on prizes, as Azul is.
And it looked from Ahmed's end, he did not get any other energy to attach for the turn. So he just jet punched 60 and 30 to the bench thanks to weakness on the Tapu Koko.
Yeah, wasn't able to trade. You can really see the differences in the turns where Ahmed's able to trade and the turns where he is not.
And thanks to that escape rope, First Impression will be back online.
Ahmed was left with a Buzzwole in the active position, which is not a Pokemon that he particularly cares about. So that is one advantage of having played that escape rope. So it's even if Azul is able to put some pressure on the Buzzwole, it's not a huge deal to Ahmed.
Rescue Stretcher from Azul, putting back 3 Pokemon into his deck.
Yeah, just taking 2 Golisopods and a Garbodor. Really smart. He just needs the Golisopod back in his deck. Again, he's going, this one is going to get knocked out eventually. He really needs that second one on the board. The Garbodor, he was forced to take, because you have to take the ones that are in there. Wouldn't have done that, I think, if there was no Garbodor.
And looking at his hand, he does have another energy attached to the Tapu Lele right now. And we see a Sycamore. Unfortunately, it's to discard that Enhanced Hammer because it can't be played right now. You'd love to see that later, but he needs a few other cards right now.
All right, and draws into the Golisopod that he put back in his deck. Looks like he's going to retreat, and we're going to see a First Impression here. 120 damage. Passing the turn back.
All right, and there's the Reverse Valley from Ahmed, a card that we have not seen yet played this weekend. It's a pretty unique card, kind of. So people play Parallel City a lot.
Yes.
But Reverse Valley, you play it on the side for you, your Dark Pokemon do 10 more damage. So it's kind of like the Regirock for the Lycanroc Buzzwole deck, but as a stadium.
Yeah, just a way to have a stadium that can get rid of the other ones. We've seen Parallel City do a lot of work. Most popular stadium now, even like Brooklet Hill, also a very popular stadium. So a way kind of gives you a little bit of extra advantage and gets rid of your opponent's stadiums.
So looking at Ahmed's hand again, this Garbotoxin is completely shutting down his deck and is not able to draw him all the cards he needs. He does have a few energy, but that's it.
30 and then 20 on, or 30 on.
Looks like he's going to go ahead and Jet Punch 30 onto the bench Golisopod.
Cards in hand.
Yeah, this
And
is
let's
not
see.
looking good for Ahmed.
Let's see how Azul can respond. And if he has a way to get this Golisopod out of the active and take the knockout on the Buzzwole.
Oh, he does have the Float Stone.
Exactly
So
what he needed.
Yeah, he's going to be able to, like you just said, move that Golisopod from the active position. And start really, we'll be able to take his first 2 prizes this game.
And again, the damage he's done from before on that Zoroark is just still sitting there, waiting to be knocked out. And even though Azul is down in prizes right now, it's looking like he's trying to take over this game.
I thought Tapu Lele was going to get in there when Azul was thinking about attaching to it, but he just decides to save it for later. Does take 2 prizes, though, knocks out that Buzzwole, and evens up the prize count.
All right, double colorless on the Zoroark, and Azul now goes down to 4. He won't be drawing those 6 cards anymore. And Ahmed still needs a Field Blower to try to get his card advantage engine back online.
Yeah, the interesting thing here is that while, we just said Azul doesn't play Zoroark, he is more susceptible to end, but in a board state like this, he doesn't really need a whole lot of cards, right? He'd love a double colorless to actually do some relevant amounts of damage with that Golisopod. He'd love a way to even like retreat it with a Guzma or something, but it's not like he needs to really rebuild when he has 2 Golisopods on board.
Yeah, exactly, and with 4 cards apiece for everyone, I don't see a field
120?
blower in Ahmed's hand, and he just right is beating for 130 damage thanks to the reverse valley. I don't think they notice yet.
Oh, it actually should be 10 more. I'm sure we can get that corrected.
And now Azul is really looking for the Acerola card that is so important in any Golisopod deck.
That attachment tells me he does not have it. He's just going to go in.
Golisopod took 10 more damage because of the...
Ooh,
Oh,
maybe,
yeah.
considering it.
There we go. They finally corrected the damage. All right, double colors does come down, and I think we're going to see a crossing cut GX, 150 damage, and it allows you to switch Golisopod to the bench, kind of saving it from harm as of right now.
150 on the Zoroark. There's another Zoroark on the bench. Not doing a whole lot here, as they cannot trade due to that Garbotoxin.
Cards in hand?
And things are not looking good for Ahmed here.
Yeah, Floatstone to the active and retreating to the Mewtwo, trying to soak up a hit. It's not what you want to see. This Garbotoxin has been putting in work.
Cards in hand?
Two Zoroarks with 150 on them. Azul is free to retreat this type of Coco for free this turn, and he just has a wealth of options. Looks like he gonna go ahead and consult the discard piles first. Could even set up a Guzma play, or he could set up a long-term flying flip.
Three in hand?
Don't
Yeah.
think we'll end up seeing that. I think he'd rather just start to add some extra pressure, but I don't quite see what's in his hand.
And there's the Guzma you were talking about, bringing up the Zoroark with the double colorless energy, and he'll be taking a knockout, but with a Tapu Lele.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to expose one of his more important Pokemon in the Golisopod to potential damage. Just saying, all right, this Lele can do the job. Let's just do it like this.
And drawing a multi-switch is not what you want to see here, and he just benches a Zora and passes.
All right, does Azul have a way to win here? Take his last two prizes?
All he needs is a Guzma.
He was counting the number of cards left in his deck, so I don't imagine that that is the case. Might be considering a Sycamore to have the Guzma for next turn. Try to find the Guzma for next turn, rather.
All right, this is the moment for Azul. In the next two turns, he is poised to win the game.
Considering a retreat on the Tapu Lele. This is something that's really important too, is Azul's very, very far ahead, and it's just as it's important to play to all of your outs when you're losing, it's also important to kind of consider all the ways in which you can lose when you're so close to winning.
Especially when you're playing a deck that doesn't really have an out to an end of one. All right, last card, Professor Kukui. Puzzle time, it does not look anything. And
that's it.
That is game. Azul manages to defeat Ahmed and move on to top 4 in quite a quick fashion.
Yeah, very quick 2-0 victory. Azul making the semifinals of another regional, looking for that 5th win. Disappointing loss for Ahmed there, but really showing the power of Garbodor and Garbotoxin. Just so strong, just past, we've talked all weekend about how powerful Zoroark GX is. That is the case, but when you can't trade, when Zoroark is just doing, 100, 120 damage here and there, you are not taking full advantage of the card.
Yeah, exactly. The old big bad of previous formats, Garbodor, Garbotoxin, is like, hey, I'm still relevant, all right? You can't take my spotlight completely.
Yeah, I mean, we saw just how powerful it was. Just, I have Garbotoxin online. Can you answer it? No. Well, you just can't do anything then. Basically,
yeah, exactly.
No abilities. Your deck is all based around abilities. Even things like Bloodthirsty Eyes, just you can't even do that. You're just kind of stuck. And we saw Ahmed just really struggle there and not, he took some prizes in the early game, but once the Garbotoxin was online and sticking, it just was, all right, well, I can't do anything. I'm not really making any progress here.
Yeah, exactly. And first of all, congratulations to Ahmed making top 8 at the largest regionals ever, adding a 4th top 8 to his resume for this year alone.
Yes, still a great accomplishment. Top 8 is amazing. Again, there are a lot of players out there who would love to make top 8 of a single regional. Congratulations to Azul for making the semifinals. We're going to take a quick break and then actually be back with an interview with Azul. Don't go anywhere.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I am Jeremy Jalen here with Azul, the recent winner of his top 8 match here at Memphis Regionals 2017. How do you feel?
I feel okay. It's doing good.
Yeah? You're kind of focused on the end goal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
You've been here plenty of times before, 4 regionals wins as we saw from your player profile, and you're looking for that 5th one, trying to catch up to Michael Pramawat.
I mean, yeah. I'm getting close. I told him I would catch him. We'd both have 8 by the end of the season. Besides that, right now I'm trying to catch Israel first. Got to give him credit too.
Yeah, all right. And how do you feel looking at the bracket right now? How do you think your matchups are going to go?
The only person I don't really want to play against is Benjamin, playing Thor.deck.